If you feel broke on a good salary, this isn't bad luck. This is a system working exactly as designed. Just not for you. I've spent 10 years inside personal finance. And the most important thing I've learned has nothing to do with stocks, budgets, or spreadsheets. It's this: you don't have a money problem. You have a habit problem. And habits are invisible until someone holds a mirror up to them. That's what this is. A mirror. And by the end, you won't be able to unsee what you're about to recognize. Your income isn't your problem. Your behavior is. Picture a typical payday. The deposit lands. You feel that brief exhale of abundance. And then almost immediately rent, utilities, for streaming services you forgot were still running, food delivery that felt justified after a brutal Tuesday. By day 22, you're doing quiet mental math in a parking lot, telling yourself the same thing you said last month: I'll save more next time. Next time never comes. Not because you're irresponsible. Because you've built your entire financial life around leftovers, and there are structurally never any leftovers. Here's the number that should stop you cold. The average American personal savings rate is 3.5%. Less than half of what it was for most of the 20th century. Money doesn't disappear. It follows your habits. And right now, the habit is spend everything first, save whatever survives. The answer is almost never anything. The fix is called paying yourself first. The moment income arrives, 10% moves automatically into savings before a single bill gets touched. Your future self becomes your most important creditor. Not your landlord. Not your streaming services. You. Think of your paycheck like a pizza arriving at a table full of guests. Right now, every guest gets a slice before you check if anything's left for you. Paying yourself first means you take your slice the moment that box opens, and everyone else works around what remains. Same pizza. Completely different outcome. When I forced myself to try this at just 5%, something strange happened within 90 days. I stopped missing the money entirely. The savings balance growing quietly in a separate account became its own motivation. Cuts appeared naturally, not from discipline, but from not wanting to interrupt the momentum I could see building. But saving is only one side of this. Because the other side? The other side is a trap most people walked into so gradually they never felt the door close behind them. When did debt stop being an emergency and start being just Tuesday? Financing a weekend trip. Groceries on a card that's already carrying a balance. Buy now, pay later for something you'll forget you own by next month. None of it feels dangerous anymore because everyone around you is doing exactly the same thing. Debt has been so thoroughly normalized that questioning it feels almost strange. Here's what that normalization is actually costing in real numbers. The average American carries $5,600 in credit card debt at 23% APR. 61% of people carrying that balance have been carrying it for more than a year. This isn't a bridge. This is a residence. People are living inside their debt and slowly decorating it like it belongs there. If you're sitting on that $5,600 making minimum payments, you'll hand the credit card company more than $3,000 in pure interest before the balance is gone. The cashback rewards? Erased. The points? Canceled out 10 times over. Credit card companies don't profit when you're financially healthy. Their entire model is built on the specific hope that you won't pay it off. You are not their customer. You are their revenue stream. And this is the moment right here where most people realize they've been feeding this machine for years. Not weeks. Years. Silently. Automatically. Without ever doing the math on what it was actually costing them. My rule is simple. If I can't buy it with money I already have, I don't put it on credit. Not always convenient. Never once cost me $3,000 in invisible interest either. Now, even if you're navigating the debt trap carefully, there's a vulnerability that stays completely hidden until life decides to test it, without warning, without mercy, and always at the worst possible moment. 43% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 unexpected expense from savings. 24% have zero emergency savings at all. One flat tire from a financial spiral that unwinds across months. I live this. My car's transmission failed without warning. Bill, $2,800. No savings, so onto a credit card it went. 8 months later, that $2,800 had become $3,200 in total cost. A mechanical problem became months of financial punishment, and the part that still stings is that it was entirely preventable. The target is 6 months of essential expenses, liquid, accessible, boring. Not invested. Not tied up somewhere clever. Just sitting there, the way a seatbelt sits there. You forget about it until the moment you desperately need it. Do this right now, monthly essential expenses multiplied by 6. Write that number somewhere visible. That is your first real financial target. Not a vague intention, a specific number with a finish line attached. But none of this is actionable if you're operating in the dark about where your money actually goes. And most people are almost entirely in the dark. Ask the average person what they spent last month on subscriptions or late-night impulse purchases. They'll guess. That guess will be wrong, often by hundreds of dollars. And when income rises, something even more insidious takes over: lifestyle inflation. The raise arrives. The apartment upgrades. The car lease gets more expensive. The income evaporates without a single intentional decision, and somehow you feel no wealthier than before. This is how people earning 6 figures feel just as financially stuck as they did at half that salary. Pull up every bank and credit card statement from last month. Categorize everything. Every forgotten subscription. Every coffee. Every charge you don't recognize. I'll make you a prediction. You will find between $200 and $400 of monthly spending on things you don't value, don't remember, or didn't know were still running. Every single time, without exception. Seeing it laid out in black and white creates accountability no app notification can manufacture. You cannot unsee your own patterns once they're right in front of you. Now, and this might land as a personal call-out, a lot of people have expensive hobbies they've never properly accounted for. For a significant number of those people, the hobby is shopping. Retail therapy works briefly. The dopamine is real. But it compounds invisibly across years until the total becomes genuinely shocking. The problem with focusing only on cutting, though, is there's a hard floor. You can only slash so far. Your income has no equivalent ceiling. Here's the math that reframes everything. Saving an extra $100 a month recovers $1,200 a year. Adding even $500 a month of new income, a side project, a negotiated raise, a freelance skill, puts $6,000 per year into play before any investment growth stacks on top. 5 times the impact. And unlike cutting expenses, income scales upward as your skills and leverage grow. You don't need more money. You need a better system. And part of that system is understanding the rules of a game you've been playing every year since your first paycheck, without ever being handed the rulebook. Taxes will likely be one of the largest expenses of your entire life. And a staggering number of people massively overpay, not from bad intentions, but from never learning how it works. Investing identical amounts inside a Roth IRA versus a standard taxable account over 30 years can produce a difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars in final wealth. Same contributions, same investments, different tax treatment. That gap is money you earned, quietly handed back because nobody explained the rules. A Roth IRA is available to almost anyone with earned income. Employer 401k matching is free money millions leave completely uncollected every year. Free money on the table, untouched. And then there's the mistake most people dress up as patience. $10,000 invested today at 7% becomes approximately $76,000 in 30 years. Wait 5 years to start, just 5, and it becomes roughly $54,000 instead. A 5-year delay costs you more than $22,000. Not from a bad investment. Not from a market crash. From waiting. From the one resource in your financial life that cannot be bought, borrowed, or earned back at any price. Here's what all of this adds up to, and I want this to land properly, because this is the whole point. Every month spent in the wrong savings cycle, carrying credit card debt, flying blind on spending, ignoring tax advantages, delaying investment, that's not just a financial cost. That's time. And unlike every other variable in personal finance, time only moves in one direction. Most people don't need a higher salary to change their financial life. They need to look honestly at what's already leaving and stop the leaks. Same salary, same life, different system. That's the entire difference between the people who build wealth and the people who wonder where it went. Here's your action plan. 1 habit. This week. Not all 8. 1. Set up an automatic transfer for 10% of your next paycheck into a separate account the day it lands. Do it once. Let it run. Or spend 20 minutes right now categorizing last month's spending. What you find will be uncomfortable. It will also be the most financially productive 20 minutes you've spent in years. Or calculate your emergency fund number right now. Monthly essentials times 6. Write it down. Make it real. One action. Then come back and pick the next one. Drop a comment and tell me which habit hit closest to home. Which one did you recognize immediately as yours? The people who say it out loud are the ones who actually change it. Because the goal was never just to know better. The goal is to live differently. You don't have a money problem. You never did. Money doesn't disappear, it follows your habits. Change the habits and you change where the money goes. Same salary. Different system. Different life. It starts today.